Stop running. That problem you're terrified of isn't your enemy. It's a hidden invitation to a power most people never find. Stay with me until the very end, because once you see the truth I'm about to reveal, your reality will shatter and you will finally be free. Have you ever noticed that the moment a problem enters your life, your very first instinct is to run? I'm going to share a hard truth with you right now, a secret that most people spend their entire lives trying to avoid. It is a reality that feels heavy and maybe even unfair. But if you listen closely to what I am about to tell you, and if you stay with me until the very end of this video, I promise you will never look at your struggles the same way again. You will find a power inside yourself that you never knew existed. Welcome to Glaze English. Before we dive deep into this journey together, please hit that subscribe button. It truly supports the channel and gives me the motivation to keep creating these meaningful lessons for you. For the longest time, I was terrified of problems. I wanted a smooth, easy life. Whenever a sudden challenge hit me, whether it was at work or in my personal life, my chest would get tight. My brain would panic. I would sit alone in the dark and ask the universe the exact same question every single time. Why is this happening to me? I felt like a victim. I felt like life was punishing me for no reason. I truly thought my problems were coming to break me and steal my peace. Maybe you are sitting there right now, carrying a heavy burden, feeling that exact same fear. I know that feeling intimately. It is a lonely and exhausting place to be. But one day, my entire perspective shattered. I realized I had it all wrong. Problems do not exist to break you. They are not punishments. Think about it. When you go to the gym, you lift heavy weights. You push your muscles until they burn and ache. You do not do this to destroy your body. You do it to build strength. Life works the exact same way. The challenges standing in front of you right now are simply the heavy weights of life. They are the mental gym equipment designed specifically to make you wiser, sharper, and tougher than you were yesterday. We spend so much energy wishing for an easy life, but an easy life only creates weak people. The strongest people you know do not have perfect lives with zero problems. They just have a completely different reaction to the storm. They refuse to play the victim. They do not cry and say, "Why me?" They look the problem dead in the eye, take a deep breath, and say, "I will handle this." This is the exact mental shift we are going to make together today. We are going to stop hiding. To make that brave shift from hiding in fear to standing strong, the very first action we must take together is silencing the loud, terrifying noise inside our own heads. Whenever a sudden crisis hits, I want you to notice what happens to your physical body. Your heart starts beating so fast it feels like it might jump out of your chest. Your breathing gets incredibly shallow, and your mind immediately creates a terrible movie showing the absolute worst possible future. I used to let this wild panic control my entire day, paralyzing me completely. But here is a psychological fact that completely changed my approach to life. A stressed mind is literally incapable of finding a solution. When you panic, your brain shifts entirely into survival mode. It only sees the danger, so it goes completely blind to logic, reason, and creativity. You simply cannot fight a fire when you are running around screaming in fear. So, the very first step we must practice together is the power of the pause. When trouble arrives at your door, do not react in the first 5 minutes. Close your eyes, drop your heavy shoulders, and take a long, deep breath. You have to speak to yourself like a comforting older friend and say out loud, "I am safe, I am in control, and I will figure this out." Remember this truth for the rest of your life. Your emotions will always make a problem look like a giant monster, but simple calmness shrinks that monster back down to its normal size. Once that initial panic is gone, we face the next huge trap, which is feeling completely stuck because the problem looks too big to handle. Why do we feel so powerless? It is almost never because the problem is actually impossible to solve. It is because we look at the entire mountain and try to figure out how to jump to the very top in one single leap. Of course, that makes you feel weak and exhausted just thinking about it. But I want you to think about a dark staircase in a tall building. You do not need a giant spotlight to see all the way to the top floor before you start walking. You only need a tiny bit of light to see the very next step in front of your foot. That is exactly how we must approach every challenge. To find that next step, I use a trick that has saved me from countless sleepless nights. Write the problem down on a blank piece of paper. When a problem stays locked inside your head, it acts like a violent storm, spinning in endless circles and making you dizzy. But the moment you write it down with a pen, it stops being a storm and becomes just a normal, boring task on a page. It completely loses its power over you. Look at that piece of paper and ask yourself honestly, what is the absolute smallest thing I can do right now to make this situation 1% better? If your big goal is to master English, do not worry about being perfectly fluent next year, because that thought will only overwhelm you. Just focus on learning 5 new words today, or reading 1 short paragraph. The impossible mountain suddenly becomes a totally easy, normal daily walk. And when you finish that tiny step, you must celebrate it. Tell yourself, "I did a really good job today." You do not need a big party or an award. You just need to show your brain that your honest effort brings a reward. That simple feeling of success builds deep confidence, and confidence is the exact fuel you need to wake up and take the next small step tomorrow. Now that we have built that quiet confidence by taking small, steady steps, we must confront the hidden enemy that destroys our progress from the inside out: the way we speak to ourselves. For a very long time, I was completely trapped in the habit of complaining. Whenever a new obstacle appeared in my path, I would immediately say, "This is too difficult," or "Nothing ever works out for me." I want to be deeply honest with you about this. Complaining is a dangerous poison that tastes sweet for about 5 seconds. It feels comforting because it gives us a perfect excuse to give up and avoid the hard work. We think we are just releasing stress, but every time you say the words, "I cannot do this," your brain literally shuts down. It stops looking for a way out and simply goes to sleep. I realized that if I wanted to survive my toughest days, I had to completely change my internal language. I had to force myself to stop asking the universe, "Why me?" It is such a weak and helpless question that keeps you stuck in the past. Instead, I started looking directly at the challenge, feeling the heavy fear in my chest, and saying, "Try me." This is not about blind arrogance. It is about reclaiming your personal power. I shifted all my mental energy away from the massive things I could not change and focused entirely on the small actions my hands could actually touch and control today. I started asking, how can I solve this? The very moment you ask a question starting with how, your brain wakes up and starts working for you, searching through the dark for any possible solution. But asking the right questions is only half the battle, because right after you find an answer, you will face the absolute worst trap of all, the paralyzing disease of overthinking. I used to be a professional overthinker. I would sit quietly in my room for weeks, trying to design the absolutely flawless, perfect plan. I would analyze every single thing that could possibly go wrong. I truly believed I was being smart, careful, and responsible. But the painful truth was that I was just completely terrified. We trick ourselves into believing that we are waiting for the perfect moment or the perfect feeling of courage to arrive. But let me tell you a secret I learned the hard way. That perfect moment is a ghost, and it will never come. Overthinking gives you the comfortable illusion of movement, but in reality, you are standing completely still while the problem around you grows heavier and darker. I had to learn that you do not need a perfect plan to change your life. You just need to start. Messy, imperfect action will always defeat brilliant, quiet inaction. If you ever feel completely paralyzed by fear, I want you to try a simple trick called the 5-second rule. When you know you need to do something scary, do not give your mind enough time to build a wall of excuses. Count backward in your head. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and physically force your body to move. Make that uncomfortable phone call. Send that difficult email, or simply take the first step. We are so deeply afraid of making a mistake, but we must finally understand that a mistake is not a failure at all. A mistake is simply valuable data. It is hard proof that you are actually in the arena, fighting to improve your life. The only true failure is doing absolutely nothing at all and letting your life simply pass you by. As we finally step into the arena and begin taking those messy, imperfect actions, we must immediately realize that we do not have to fight these terrifying battles completely alone. For a very long time, I carried a heavy, blinding ego that convinced me I had to be a lone wolf. I honestly believed that if I reached out and asked for help, it meant I was weak, incapable, or just not smart enough to figure things out by myself. I thought suffering in silence was a badge of honor. But struggling in total isolation is not bravery. It is a dangerous ego trap that steals your most valuable asset, which is your time. Whatever massive mountain you are trying to climb right now, whatever problem is keeping you awake at night, I promise you that someone else has already reached the top. Someone out there has already cried the exact same tears, made the exact same painful mistakes, and drawn a clear map of the path you desperately need. Do not let foolish pride keep you wandering in the dark. A truly strong person is humble enough to look someone in the eye and say, "I do not know how to do this. Please teach me." Read their books, listen closely to their stories, and borrow the hard wisdom of those who have already survived the fire. Seeking guidance from others is the ultimate cheat code in life, because it saves you years of unnecessary heartbreak and failure. But as you actively gather this incredible guidance from others, there is a precious, fragile resource inside your own heart that you must protect fiercely, and that is your hope. I want to be very clear here. I am absolutely not talking about fake, toxic positivity, where you just force a smile and pretend the pain does not exist. The pain is very real. The struggle is exhausting, and it is okay to admit that. But choosing hope is a brilliant tactical survival strategy. When you let negativity and despair take over your brain, your mind goes completely dark, and you only see permanent dead ends. A hopeful mind, however, looks at a solid, intimidating brick wall and immediately starts imagining how to build a door through it. I had to train my own brain to whisper in the middle of my absolute worst days, "This dark storm is only temporary, and I will survive this challenge just like I have survived every single bad day before it." To keep that vital hope breathing inside you, you must be absolutely ruthless about your daily environment. You simply cannot solve a difficult life problem while surrounding yourself with negative people who only talk about failure, fear, and disaster. You must audit the voices you allow into your mind. Step away from the people who drain your energy and stay very close to the people who constantly remind you of your own hidden strength. Your peace of mind is the absolute greatest weapon you possess when life gets uncontrollably hard. Protect your peace, defend your environment, and let that stubborn hope be the powerful engine that keeps you moving forward. Protecting your inner fire is essential, but there is one final, heavy door we must unlock together if we want to truly own our future. I want to talk to you about the most difficult, yet most empowering secret I have ever discovered: the power of extreme ownership. For years, when my life felt like a mess, I found a strange comfort in pointing my finger at everyone else. I blamed my difficult upbringing, my boss, and even the unfair world for my failures. Blaming others feels incredibly good for a few seconds because it lets you off the hook. It tells you that you are not the problem. But I eventually realized that every time I blamed someone else, I was accidentally handing them the remote control to my entire life. If they are the reason I am unhappy, then I have to wait for them to change before I can be happy again. That is a terrifying and helpless way to live. We must understand a very deep truth. A problem may not be your fault, but solving it is always your responsibility. It does not matter how the mess started. What matters is who is going to clean it up. When you stop making excuses and say, "I am the one who will fix this," something beautiful happens. You stop being a helpless victim of your circumstances, and you become the powerful author of your own story. This is the moment you truly grow up. You realize that your future is not in the hands of luck or other people. It is built by the choices you make right now. Think back on everything we have explored together. We learned to stay calm so we can think, to break big mountains into tiny steps, to ask how instead of why, and to move our bodies before fear can stop us. We learned to borrow wisdom and guard our hope like a treasure. But none of those tools will work unless you pick them up and take full responsibility for your journey. Life will continue to test you, but you are no longer the same person who started this journey. You are now someone who faces challenges with a smile, someone who looks at a crisis and says, "I am responsible for what happens next." You have a massive strength inside you that is just waiting to be used. Take charge of your life today, because the person you are becoming is far stronger than any problem you will ever face. We have traveled through many difficult truths today, and I want you to take a moment to really feel the weight of what we have explored together. Life is a series of puzzles, and for a very long time, many of us have been looking at these puzzles as if they were enemies trying to ruin our happiness. But as we reach the end of this journey, I hope you can see that the enemy is actually a guide in disguise. Every time you face a challenge that feels too big or too heavy, you are not being punished. You are being invited to grow into a much bigger and stronger version of yourself. We talked about the absolute necessity of silencing the panic in our hearts, because your mind is like a clear lake. It can only show the reflection of a solution when the water is perfectly still. We looked at the terrifying mountain of our problems and realized that it is not one giant block of stone, but simply a collection of tiny, manageable steps waiting for us to take them one by one. We challenged the habit of complaining, which is a poison that steals our energy, and we replaced it with the sharp power of asking, "How?" We learned that overthinking is just a safe, quiet place where we hide from our fears, and that physically moving our feet is the only way to build real, lasting courage. We recognized that we are not alone on this planet, and that reaching out to borrow wisdom from others is a sign of great intelligence, not a sign of weakness. Finally, we accepted the heavy but beautiful burden of responsibility. We realized that even if we did not start the fire in our lives, we are the ones who must pick up the water and put it out. This is the path of a strong, wise, and unstoppable person. It is not about living a life without pain or difficulty, but about building a mind that is so resilient that no problem can ever truly defeat your spirit. You are not a victim of your circumstances. You are the powerful author of your own story, and every single small step you take from this moment on is a strong brick in the house of the life you want to build. The deepest lesson I want you to carry in your heart is this: your problems do not come to take something away from you. They come to reveal the strength that is already inside you. You have a quiet, steady power that only shows itself when things get difficult. When you stop fighting against reality and start working with it, you realize that the obstacle is not blocking your path. The obstacle is the path. To apply this to your life right now, I want you to identify the one problem that is causing you the most stress today. Just one. Do not think about your whole life or your whole year. Write that one problem down on a piece of paper right now. Ask yourself, what is the very first small step I can take in the next 10 minutes to make this situation just 1% better? Then, do it immediately without thinking. Do not wait for confidence to arrive. Take that small step and let the confidence find you while you are moving. I would love to hear your thoughts on this journey. Here is a simple question for you. What is one small step you are going to take today to face a challenge in your life? Please share your answer in the comments below so we can all learn from each other and stay motivated together. If this lesson gave you strength, please subscribe to Glaze English to support the channel. Your support gives me the motivation to keep creating these powerful and helpful videos for you. Thank you for being here. Keep growing, and I will see you in the next one.